Have you ever wondered what made a group of primitive people living in small tribes become a great civilization, with pyramids reaching the sky and mighty armies? Was it great inventions like the wheel or writing? Or was it a giant trap that humanity accidentally fell into? A system that completely changed the way we live, work, and trade? A system that today we cannot live without? Taxes.
Welcome to another episode of Hidden Past. Today we're taking a trip back in time to the time when the agricultural revolution created a huge, yet contradictory turning point. This revolution, at first glance, seemed like a huge step forward as humans began to settle down, domesticate plants and animals, and create more food than ever before. But as we know, this was history's greatest fraud. It not only forced humans into a cycle of forced labor, but also created a birth of the future, where power, inequality, and complex systems began to take shape. As surplus food was created, a crucial question arose: how to manage and distribute it. This need led to the creation of imagined orders, stories, beliefs, and laws that did not exist in nature, but that had the power to bind millions of people together in a productive way. It was these imagined orders that laid the foundations for the first empires and, more importantly, the complex administrative systems to manage them. About 5,000 years ago, the first kingdoms, writing, and money emerged. These kingdoms could not survive on muscle alone. They needed a massive administrative machine to coordinate activities from building public works to maintaining armies. And to run that machine, a stable and sustainable source of finance was needed. That's where the tax system came in. The first form of tax may not have been monetary. Instead, it was the surplus products from agriculture. Peasants, after producing enough food for themselves, had to pay a portion of their harvest to the elite: kings, officials, priests, and soldiers. These people, a tiny fraction of society, lived off the sweat of the remaining 90% of the population who rose early every morning to plow the fields and water the soil with the sweat of their toil. This created a pyramidal social structure, with workers at the bottom and a ruling class at the top. This system not only ensured the survival of the ruling class, but also provided the raw material for politics, war, art, and philosophy. Taxes were not just a revenue, but a tool for maintaining this imagined order. The armies and police, nourished by this tax, became instruments of violence and coercion to maintain order and force compliance. Early empires like Sargon's Akkad, the Roman Empire, and later the Han Empire, succeeded because of their ability to control and manage their vast populations, and taxation was the lifeblood of that control. Taxation transformed raw products like grain into military might, great works, and political power. It was the language of numbers that allowed officials to record, calculate, and govern a vast empire without ever knowing its inhabitants. However, this system is not without its problems. While taxation has helped maintain order and development, it has also been a source of injustice. Imagined orders and social hierarchies have created imagined classes, where inequality is taken for granted. Taxation is the heaviest burden on the poor, while the rich and powerful benefit from it. Yet it was precisely this imagined order, despite its injustice, that enabled humans to cooperate on a large scale, beyond our original biological limitations. It opened the door to the great historical events that followed, from the birth of religion, money, to mighty empires.
And when we talk about the greatness of empires, we cannot help but mention another revolution, one that completely changed the way we see the world. Thousands of years after the first tax systems were established, humanity reached a new pinnacle. A pinnacle not only of power, but also of wisdom. If empires were built on the acceptance of divine authority and established social order, a turning point came about 500 years ago. People began to question everything, even things that were considered absolute truths. They realized their own not knowing, that the knowledge they had was not everything. It was this recognition that opened a new era, an era in which people no longer considered themselves the center of the universe.
The development of science was inseparable from the support of political and economic institutions. The great discoveries of scientists were fueled by abundant resources, gathered from an ever more sophisticated tax system. European empires, built on a combination of science and conquest, began to explore new lands and eventually realized that the Earth was not the center of everything, and neither was humanity. So how did humans, from being an insignificant animal, come to realize their true place in the universe? And what happened when belief in an imaginary order was replaced by cold scientific truth? We will find out together in the next episode. 500 years ago, humans realize they are not the center of the universe.